Okay, so my name is Kato Thompson. I work in the Career Development Center and specifically the area of student employment and the administrative support specialist. So I handle all the paperwork in the office, all the onboarding of student employees, and helping students connect with employers across campus and help get them acclimated to giving them ideas, possibly in finding employment in the greater Boone community. Just a little bit of backstory. I myself am a former mountaineer. I graduated back in 2013. I was a sustainable development major, and after I graduated, I taught environmental education for a while, but came back to App and wanted to help out students and felt like this was a really good place to do it. And I myself worked part-time jobs both on and off campus. So a little bit of what I'm going to talk about today is from personal experience, perspective of being a mountaineer living in Boone, looking for jobs on and off. So while you're considering employment on campus, I encourage you to do so, whether it be a job on campus or off. It is very important that at some point during your college career that you work, not only to help reduce debt by decreasing loans, but all the valuable skills that you can gain through those experiences. So, we acknowledge it helps offset the cost of your schooling, that working a part-time job can allow you to reduce loans and that are required for day-to-day expenses, and that will help you in your total debt upon graduation. And, with the valuable work experience to contribute to your resume, there's a lot of time management you'll gain by working a part-time job. It will help provide some structure to your routine, help you learn prioritizing obligations, and that will better prepare you for your life after Appalachian. And App and the Career Development Center specifically, we're a part of an organization called NACE, it's the National Association of Colleges and Employers, and they shared with us a study that nearly 91% of employers prefer candidates that do have work experience and work experience that's not necessarily directly related to their work field, but just work experience in general, because they do know that that is a valuable contribution, that a student took the time and the dedication to work a part-time job in conjunction with their studies, that is extremely important. And also, when we were looking at this, I found some data research of Bureau of Labor Statistics found that students who work less than 20 hours per week have an average GPA of 3.13, while non-working students have an average GPA of 3.04. The reason why we emphasize that less than 20 hours per week is clearly you can overwork yourself and overcommit yourself. We acknowledge that while you're here at App, you're a student first and an employee second. And especially if you're a full-time student, that's anything more than 12 credit hour course load. There are still many hours outside of the classroom that you need to dedicate to your studies, dedicate to your work, your research, and that you can work in conjunction with that a job. But when you breach that more than 20 hours a week threshold, we see that starts to impede on your academic performance. So I encourage you, while you're looking for a job, looking less than 20 hours a week for your overall success. So when I was kind of assembling this presentation together, I focused typically a lot on on-campus employment, but I wanted to take some time highlighting the Boone area and searching for a job off campus. And with the start of that process, I had to think about what makes Boone Boone? Why did students choose to come to Appalachian? Many of them may have decided to come to our school because they had visited Boone as a small child, spending time up here exploring the outdoors. Maybe they went camping or on the weekends, or they would come up here and stay at a cabin retreat, or maybe they'd come up during the holidays and buy Christmas trees. There are lots of employers that might focus on these specific areas directly, but then there are also a lot of employers that play an important role in this industry of hospitality, tourism, the wedding industry, recreation, we need a lot of grocery stores to support those industries. There's a lot of food and beverage. And of course, people love to shop retail in the high country. Those are just kind of some ideas that I started floating around in my head when I started pulling these together. Sorry about that. When I was looking this up, I found out that North Carolina ranks second in national study of Christmas tree growth and harvest. So those are a lot of employers in the high country that are going to employ individuals, maybe even outside of the holiday season. I myself worked on a Christmas tree farm as a greeter right around and before Thanksgiving break. So that could be something that you consider. We have several vineyards in the area. We have several golf and country clubs. I just highlighted Grandfather Golf and Country Club, but Eseola. There's several of them, I believe Elk Club. Those are just some of them to highlight. There are a lot of employers at Tanger outlets. I just pulled some information from their website, some of their jobs that are posted currently with some of their shops at Tanger outlets in Blowing Rock. You may have come up here in the fall and went to a pumpkin patch or a corn maze. I pulled up some information about these employers and their website. Who knows, they may have jobs posted this fall. That may just spark your idea of different types of employers in the area. Of course, all the resources that I pull together are not comprehensive, or they are comprehensive, but it's not all inclusive. And this is just a means to get you to think about more and more what may be out there outside of just campus. I pulled together the Boone Area Chamber of Commerce, and directly they work with employers in this area and have links to jobs that are posted out there. Some of them that are part-time opportunities. There's even more of them highlighted on here that I pulled up. So that was just through Boone Chamber of Commerce. You might have an apartment over towards Blowing Rock or Banner Elk, maybe out in West Jefferson. So I've also pulled together and highlighted their Chamber of Commerce and employment opportunities and links that they may have about finding employment in the area. I also did a general Google map search of just Boone, just to give you an idea. Thinking about campus, we have a lot of employers that are just local to the area, a lot of restaurants right on King Street, which are within walking distance that you can consider. Even in this current COVID climate, there are employers that are still serving customers. We're still having folks come up here and enjoy the high country, and all of these restaurants, retailers on King Street may be still needing assistance, and they're within walking distance to campus, or they may even be Apple Cart accessible around Boone. Just some things to kind of spark you, get your curiosity going whenever you're looking for employment. I also have seen where some students, when I've been interacting and talking with them passively, that they may have found a job through social media. It sounds, who knows, looking on App State Classified or Boone Classified through social media, you might get connected to somebody that needs to quickly hire part-time help. That could be something that you join just to get your feelers out there. Maybe you can post, say, hey, who's hiring right now? Just some ideas. Some additional online resources I included, the Watauga Democrat. They have their classifieds page where they post for help. Might be part-time. It looks like Grandfather Mountain is now hiring in various areas. I myself worked at Grandfather Mountain part-time. I worked in the fudge shop, and then I also worked some in habitats as well too. So you never know what some opportunities might lead to and evolve throughout your time here at App. So that's just something I pulled together. You could also do NC Works. This is an amazing resource. You can search for part-time employment. I put in campus 28608, but like I said, you might have an apartment in a different area and you might have that access and transportation to get to other locations. So, and it's not too early whenever you're looking at part-time employment to consider some things and do some research on employers while you're inquiring with them. Follow them on social media, check out their website, their LinkedIn pages. A lot of folks might feel like it's unnecessary for just a part-time job, but I think of how some of our employers in the high country have responded to current events, and that might be something that's a concern for you, or be an important value that you hold whenever you're reaching out to them and wanting to work there, or maybe considering that that's not an employer you might want to work for. I remember, going and eating at the Cardinal and learning about how they helped all their part-time staff go through a training for sexual assault awareness and interpersonal violence prevention training through OASIS here in Boone. And I thought that was great that they required that training for their employees, even their part-time employees. I think what an awesome investment that local business did for their employees to put them through a training like that. I thought that was really cool. There are businesses that are supporting organizations like Black and Boone and wanting to partner with them to help Boone become a more inclusive community and share their resources. So like Foggy Pine Books, partnering with Black and Boone and making sure proceeds go to social justice awareness. I thought that was really great. These may be things that interest you. I pulled different community partners that have partnered with the high country to host a Latino X Fair previously, that they're wanting to expand resources for the greater Boone community and to make us more inclusive. I think that's really cool when you see employers participating in this way. So when you're applying to a job, do a quick search of them, look up the business name, Boone, North Carolina, see what's out there in the news, see what they're doing, how they're partnering, what types of organizations they're helping out with. Are they advocating sustainable practices? Are they inclusive to communities that interest you or that are concerned or that concern you? It's just something to keep in mind. A lot of folks typically want to reserve that for when they're looking for full-time employment, but I don't think it's ever too early to start conducting research like that and considering it even when you're looking for a part-time job. Even if it's just great exercise to be doing research on employers, it can give you something to talk about when you go and meet with them. Maybe you have a phone interview or you have a Zoom interview and you want something to discuss of, hey, I've learned this really great thing about the organization, the business, and I really want to be a part of what you all are doing here during my time at Appalachian. I think it would make my experience more well-rounded and more valuable, and I want to participate in that while I'm here as a student and helping myself out financially. When you're going and applying for these jobs, I would highly encourage you always submit a resume and let them know what your availability is. If they're looking for part-time help and you're a student, they might not know your class schedule, or you might give them your class schedule, but you may have another commitment like a club, an organization, something that you're dedicated to that you have to participate in. When you give them your availability, your true snapshot of when you can work, and factor in transportation, how long it may take you to get there. I know during this current time, it might not be appropriate to go in person. So try to email them, call them, ask them, when's the most appropriate time? When can I stop in person? Would you like me to email this to you directly? Who can I send this to? How can I reach out to inquire? Things of that nature, and be professional in all your communication, even if it's not in person, if it's over the phone, if it's over Zoom. Be professional. Even if it's part-time employment, you might not think it's a big deal, but it is wonderful practice for you to be participating in now while you're looking for a part-time job. It will only help you for the future, and it will help you land even those part-time job interviews. It still matters even if it's not a full-time job. I also wanted you to keep in mind as well too, when you're interviewing with them, ask them about their time off policy. I spent some time working at Appalachian Ski Mountain a couple of seasons while I was a student. And when they're open and they have tourists coming to ski, it might be when you're trying to go home for break. I know some of our students that live in the residence halls, it's going to look different this fall when in-person classes and being in the residence halls will end at Thanksgiving break and they'll go home. But if you have access to stay in Boone, you are wanting to look for employment at ski resorts, that's something you're going to want to talk to them about. Even local employers that are still going to be open during the holiday season, you may want to ask them, hey, what is your policy surrounding break? Do I need to ask for that ahead of time? Will you work with me? Do I need to be available? Those are just some things you need to think about, especially for off-campus employment. For on-campus employment, it might look a little bit different because usually when our students aren't here, we don't need as much of a staff presence on campus. And, but you know, we on campus might not be as competitive with pay as what off-campus employers might offer, or the fact that off-campus employers will get you more connected to the greater Boone community, to the high country. It will, you know, just depend on your needs. But these are just things I wanted you to keep in mind when you're applying for a job. Oh, my apologies. So the next slide I included was about one-time pay job opportunities. We call these odd jobs. So through student employment, we have community members, say retired faculty or staff, families in the Boone community that want to hire a student, maybe to do yard work, mowing, moving, babysitting, dog walking. I've hired a student for dog walking. They might want to post a one-time quick opportunity for a student to find some help, and it gives students a cool opportunity to get some quick cash, maybe while you're still looking for a job, or maybe to help bridge the gap between paycheck to paycheck. If you are interested in subscribing to Odd Jobs to receive these email communications, you would go to our student employment homepage. So that's studentemployment.appstate.edu, or you could just do a quick Google search, Student Employment App State. It's going to pull up on our homepage, and you would click the Odd Job group subscribe. I think my screenshot cropped that out, but you would click subscribe. You would read the disclaimer statement, and you would receive email communication. When you are inquiring about these and following up, you'll want to inquire with the person who directly posted the opportunity for the job. We do not serve as a job placement service, so if you were to contact me about the job, I'm going to direct you back to the person that posted the position. And I would encourage you, whenever you meet with these folks, meet with them in a public space before you report to a private residence for the job. You know, feel free to give them your resume. I would be very hesitant if you, and we try to warn students about job scams, and we do our best to filter these requests for scams, but just be mindful if somebody's asking for sensitive information like a social security number, a birth certificate. Those are typically things that you do not need to divulge when applying for a part-time job or a one-time pay opportunity. Yes, they might ask for references, a name, a phone number, somebody that can speak to your experiences or you as an individual about an opportunity. But if something is suspicious, please let our office know. We don't want you to be scammed. We want to keep an eye out for you, but we also know that this is a great way that students have connected with off-campus individuals, and And sometimes it's even become and flourished for some students into more than just a one-time pay opportunity. I know we have a gentleman that owns a restoration business in Blowing Rock where he needed a student to help with a major project to restore a piece of artwork. The student that they hired happened to be a criminal justice major, and the work that the individual was doing in Blowing Rock was restoring art pieces, and he ended up employing the student for 3 years, the whole time the student was in their program at App. And this person that works in Blowing Rock, I apologize for not remembering the name of the business, but he does art restoration, and it made the student gain a whole new perspective for art. And when that student graduated with their criminal justice program, they went on to do an internship with the federal government looking at art theft and art history. I thought that was really cool. And when that employer had reached out to us and said, hey, several years ago, I hired a student through Odd Jobs and they ended up being the best help, that is really cool to hear about. So we still encourage you, even if this is for one-time pay opportunities, be professional in your communication. You may end up working at a retired faculty member's home. You might be given a job to help out with that family more often. The student that I hired to do dog sitting, she has been the only dog sitter I've had since we brought our puppy home because she was so professional. So even for these one-time odd job pay opportunities, be professional in your interactions with individuals. These are folks in the high country and in our community, and they may have really great connections for you for your future. So those are just some things to keep in mind. Okay. So now I wanted to speak about on-campus employment. So annually, we typically see about 3,000 student employees each year on campus. And some students might even work more than one job. So I'll speak a little bit later about our largest on-campus employers. And a lot of our students seek jobs first in those departments because they're such big employers. But throughout their time here at App, and as they connect with and network with faculty and staff, they might get another job in another department working as a research assistant or an admin student assistant. You never know what your interactions in one area might lead to later on down the road. And I have a lot of parents during orientation ask me, how can my student be a research assistant? Well, those jobs are typically not advertised. They are typically given to a student who takes the time to network in the classroom with their faculty member, get to know them, and when that faculty member has a grant available, they'll offer the job to the student. So I would suggest not waiting and trying to hold out for a job like that, but look for a different job, and who knows what it might lead to. We often see once students gain their first job on campus, they quickly find a second job if they're interested or end up switching jobs later on down the road. And you can have that flexibility while you're here at App. The average hourly rate is $8.50. Some of them, depending on the department and the budget, they might begin at $7.25. So yes, we might not be as competitive in comparison to off-campus employers, but on campus, definitely you make up for the convenience of being able to walk to your on-campus job location and then go to class. Who knows, you might work in campus dining and you have classes over in, is it Garwood, the CAT building, chemistry, astronomy, and physics. You might be able to work over in Trivet Hall, or maybe you have classes in Edwin Duncan and it's really convenient for you to go walk to Central for a shift and then walk back to another class. So even though the pay might not be as competitive, it definitely makes up for inconvenience. And when we were talking about holidays earlier, there might be some opportunities during break to work and help out some areas, but the need isn't nearly as great as when we are on break. A lot of your departments that you're looking for employment may be flexible. The student engagement and leadership that oversee the student union, they may say, we don't need the building staff during Thanksgiving break or after students leave during Thanksgiving. You know, we won't need your support, and that may free up your flexibility to go home and not have the expectation to work. Some areas like campus dining, they may have some limited operations to help sustain the students that live on campus. So maybe if you want to work and you have that flexibility of staying in town, that might be convenient for you in some departments like campus dining. Like I said, when we work with our on-campus departments and employers, we discourage them from having a student work more than 20 hours a week. And usually when they first start working with a student to schedule shifts, they will look at 10 to 12 hours per week. If the student's working more than one job, the student's going to want to communicate with both departments to say, hey, I'm working, you know, approximately 15 hours a week as an RA, and I'm working 5 hours a week as a desk assistant in a department, so I'm not overworking myself. Those are just some things to keep in mind. The other department you're working in might not know the amount of hours you've worked one week in a department, and so your other department, so you may just want to maintain that communication and professionalism while you're working with multiple areas. We're still a pretty large university, and so the person you report to directly might not know what you're working in your other department. So you'll want to maintain that communication and professionalism when you're looking for an on-campus job or working with more than one department. And you might be new at App or new to getting a full-time or a part-time job with us. So you will be likely one of our students that comes through the Office of Student Employment, or during this time specifically scheduling a virtual Zoom meeting with me to process you as a new hire once you obtain a job on campus. So if you end up getting a job on campus, congrats, and I will likely meet with you in the future, and you'll be one of our almost 2,000 students that comes through our office or virtually will meet with me to conduct your onboarding. All right, so when you're looking for on-campus employment, our student employment website is an excellent resource. When you go to the Find the Job link, you'll see resources about our largest on-campus employers, or you'll likely, if you haven't already, have been getting communication through Handshake about career meetups like this and where you can go to look for on-campus employment. I do acknowledge that there might not be as many jobs up there right this second for part-time employment, but I'm still working with our on-campus supervisors to help them think about what their needs are for fall, helping them post jobs in Handshake. And I'm the person that approves the on-campus jobs through Handshake. I review each one of them, help the employers with their job description. And today, so July 14th, I just approved in Handshake the job posting for the part-time positions with campus dining. And they hire, I think they said they estimate that they need to hire about 400 students. And so that's something you can definitely check out. That's a new job that's up there. Any student can apply. You just need a resume, and I'll share with you resources from the Career Development Center about helping you out with a resume as well too. So I did want to highlight our largest on-campus employers. These are our departments that typically have larger budgets, that have a need for a larger workforce and need to hire students to help them out in different ways. So like I noted, student engagement and leadership are the folks that oversee the student union facility, and their office is located on the second floor of Plymouth Student Union. I haven't seen them post a job in Handshake yet, and they're still looking at their needs for fall, but that might be something, you know, you might have another friend who works in student engagement and leadership, helping out with student programming or student events. That would be a great way. If you have a connection to another student that works in these departments, use them as a recommendation when you're inquiring. So keep an eye out. I think that department will have needs in the future. Same with university recreation. When our students come back this fall, you know, fall's going to look very different in response to coronavirus. with those facilities and university recreation, they may hire a lot more weight room attendants or facility technicians to help more regularly clean equipment, to maintain the facility, to make sure that the rotation for cleaning is up to par and with the needs in response to coronavirus. So who knows, departments like university recreation might be hiring more students that they had in the past. I'm not quite sure. I haven't seen them post a job yet so far, but that's a department that usually hires a lot of students and you can be keeping an eye out for. I've been directly speaking with the university bookstore and they anticipate posting a job in Handshake. And they've previously utilized Engage or formerly AppSync to post a job. So you could probably search on AppSync to see what their application looked like. But I do know that the bookstore anticipates posting a job in Handshake soon. University Housing is another large employer. They have a job currently posted in Handshake. They need to hire a lot of student housekeepers to help with the rotation of cleaning. I can't remember what they're paying an hour, but I want to say it's at least $12, $13 an hour. And they work with your class schedule, and you live in the residence hall, and you can also help maintain the facility of your living community, which is really great. University Housing, though, is very unique in that the jobs that they have do require that you must be living on campus. So whether it be the resident assistant, desk assistant, night assistant, or housekeeping assistant positions, they do require that you live on campus. Questions regarding that, you will want to reach out to University Housing directly. And on our student employment website, we have a list of the largest on-campus employers under Find a Job and all of that contact information. But I do know University Housing does have a job currently posted on Handshake, and they are hiring a lot of students for that position. So keep that in mind. Campus dining, like I said, is the largest on-campus employer. And what's really cool about campus dining is when you first apply, all of their jobs, even if you have absolutely no work experience, start at $775, and every semester that you stay on with them, they bump you up by a quarter, which is pretty significant. And if you have prior work experience, you might come in at a mid-level tier making $8 an hour starting out, or an advanced tier if you have prior food and beverage experience making $9 an hour, and then again bumping up by a quarter every semester. Some of our students that work in catering within campus dining even make $10 an hour. Catering, though, is unique in that their positions are centered around events. So unlike the rest of campus dining, or even a lot of these large on-campus employers that might have regularly maintained schedules every week for you to work, working in an area like campus dining or Holmes Convocation Center might be more event-based, and that might interest you if you're worried about committing to a weekly schedule. Maybe you have varying commitments that require your attention and that you have to work around. So, or maybe you just don't want to commit to a weekly shift. Working in something like catering or Holmes Convocation Center, where it's based on when an event is scheduled, they need to have a student, great. They typically will hire you on first, have you go through required mandatory training, and as they need help for an event, you be ready and waiting to sign up for a shift. So Holmes Convocation Center, that's the main building where graduation is held, special events. That building has historically hired a lot of students, and that might be something that pops up in the future. University library, another area as well too. You can inquire with Appalachian Fund Call Center. Some students might not be as familiar with this. This is our area that works so diligently to call Appalachian alum and donating and contributing to our university. And they have students that work in the call center, and when they call alum, they share with them their current experience and what it's like as a student and the need for for alum and the contribution of donations to Appalachian State. So I think that's a really cool position. It does a lot of talking, of course. So if you're like me and you feel like you can call people and talk to them, it's always a really cool team. And the supervisor over that area, Lainey Crumbly, is the supervisor. She's really sweet. She's also a former student, and they have previously worked as a really cool team. So Appalachian Fund Call Center is a really cool place to work. Also, too, we have 2 areas on campus, these child facilities program, the ASU Child Development Center, which is located behind Mountaineer Hall, and the Lucy Brock Child Development Laboratory Program, which is located up near the Wright College of Education, back behind the post office and the student union. Both of these are state-regulated child care facilities. And so when you're inquiring about employment there, that application process and onboarding might be more extensive because of the nature of working with children in close proximities. You will likely need to pass a background check and a fingerprinting. And you know, you're working with children of former students, children of faculty, children of staff. And so that job, you know, requires a great deal of responsibility. And if you enjoy working with children, you can definitely inquire with either the Child Development Center or Lucy Brock. I do not know what their needs will look like for this fall, and that may be something that varies. I'm not quite sure, but I did still list them. If you have experience working with children, that's something you're definitely going to want to highlight on your resume and your references when you're inquiring with both of those facilities. And be prepared when you're applying to on-campus jobs or off-campus. They may ask for you to do an interview over the phone or over Zoom. So that's something to keep in mind, even with recruitment for this fall, something you may be asked whenever you're applying for these positions. And we have resources through the Career Development Center website on how to help you with phone interviews, how to help you with Zoom interviews. And you can record yourself answering questions, see how you do, and see how you do with your responses in preparation for these types of opportunities and interviews. So we'll share with that a little bit later. Just be prepared when you're inquiring about these jobs. I also wanted to highlight the Federal Work Study Program. So what this is federal government gave funding to Appalachian State to create job opportunities for students that demonstrate financial need, and it's awarded as a part of a student's financial aid package. That demonstrated financial need is based off of a student's FAFSA application, free application for federal student aid, and it is through the financial aid office. So if you are interested in the Federal Work Study Program, you would inquire through financial aid. First step, you would need a FAFSA application on file. And if you are awarded, it's typically a $2,000 award, but you do not earn that. You don't get that award up front as a part of your financial aid package. Instead, you would earn that award in the form of wages as you report to your position on campus. So small departments like the Career Development Center, University Writing Center, which has a work study job up on Handshake right now, or Office of International Education Development. We are very small departments that don't typically have budgets to hire students. So our students that work in our offices exclusively have a work study award and are eligible for the Federal Work Study Program. And when we employ them, they're employed through their work study award, which they earn. So some of our small departments typically are support areas that have very small budgets, hire students through the work study program. Please do not be discouraged if you are not eligible for work study. It makes up about 10% of jobs on campus. And when you're inquiring about jobs, and especially when you're looking on Handshake, you might see what appears to be a lot more work study jobs than departmental funded positions. But know that the one job posting for the one student assistant in an office working work study is just to hire one student, but the one posting to hire 400 students in campus dining, or the 40 student housekeepers in housing, that's one job posting to hire a lot more students. And so when it may just look misleading on Handshake, or there may be opportunities that come up throughout the academic year. Don't be discouraged if you don't have a job immediately when you get to app. I waited until the second semester of my first year before I even looked for a job. And my first job was actually off campus, not even on. So there is turnover that happens. A student might come to find that that position's not the best fit for them, or it might not work with a new commitment. Maybe that student has tutoring and they can't go to their job in university recreation and they have to drop their shift. Turnover does happen. And some of our departments might bring back students who were previously trained from a previous semester first before they evaluate and post their needs for hiring more students. So I know sometimes it can be a little bit frustrating, and I'm here to help. I want to talk to you about it, but know that turnover happens. There's not a day that doesn't go by throughout the academic year that I have another student scheduling an appointment with me to be processed for their on-campus job. Don't assume that just because you didn't land a job at the beginning of August for the start of the year, you're not going to get a job on campus. That is not the case. And you might hear a lot about federal work study and you might not be eligible, but it only makes up about 10% of positions on campus. If you are work study eligible and if you are given a work study award, you will be prompted to log on to Handshake to apply for the federal work study labeled positions. And if you are interested in work study, you can inquire with the Office of Financial Aid or shoot me an email through Student Employment website, and we can see if you can be awarded and given access in Handshake to apply for those jobs. Okay, another thing I was going to note towards the end, this is very, very important for anybody who wants to look for a job either on campus or off. Work study program, outside of the work study program, you're working at Tweetsie Railroad for Ghost Train, if you're working at Staples, if you're working at the mom and pop nursery down in Banner Elk, you will need acceptable documents for employment verification. This is required for all employees, and we, especially at Appalachian State, are required by the federal government to complete employment verification for all new hires. And you must, as an employee, present documents that not only establish identity, but employment authorization. And you should prepare and pack these with you if you intend to get a job this fall. So most of our students that are U.S. resident students, they present to us when they are hired for their employment verification a valid passport or passport card for identity and employment authorization, or they would present a picture ID like their driver's license or school ID. These documents only establish identity. They would need to present those in conjunction with like a social security card or a U.S. birth certificate. So some students will do their driver's license and social security card, or school ID with social security card, or school ID with their birth certificate, or school ID with their social security card. These are just a combination of, we also have many students who are permanent residents, and many of them present to their permanent resident card or social security card. We do also have students that are foreign national students that are here that may be here on a visa, and they are also onboarded by our Office of Human Resources. Typically, they work with the Office of International Education and know what type of documentation that they need to present. But it's often our U.S. resident or U.S. citizen students, that forget that they may need to have these documents accessible to them when they start their job. So if there is one thing that you retain from this presentation, is to please pack these documents with you and know that they must be the original. When you come to our office to complete your onboarding, you cannot present a photo. It must be the original document. I cannot accept a scanned copy or a photo when you come to us. And the nice thing about once you present it to us for any future employment you have at App, you only need present them to our office once. So like I said, if you get a job in campus dining, and then you switch and get a job as a research or grant writing assistant with a faculty member, you only need present that document to us once for any future employment at App, or even if you stay and go to graduate school and you do a graduate assistantship, we'll already have that information on file. So I know it's a bit of a nuisance to pack those and have them available, but you will only need to present them to our office once for your first job on campus, and then that will be it. So things to keep in mind. If you have questions about that, you're more than welcome to email me directly. I wanted to share with you some helpful tips in utilizing the Career Development Center. We are here to help ensure that our students are career ready for their future, and we acknowledge that part-time jobs are a part of that process, helping you build the skills for your life after Appalachian and just starting your career path, and really helping you identify and develop those skills for the future. So if you haven't already utilized the Career Development Center, they can help you with career exploration and helping you land on a major that works for you. You can schedule a meeting with your career coach, an appointment through Handshake, and they can help you build upon your resume. Maybe you already have a job and you want a part-time job and you want to add those skills and highlight them on your resume for a future internship or full-time job as you're getting ready to graduate. Your career coaches can help with that. If you need your resume reviewed, our career guides can help you out with that, especially even now during our coronavirus response. We are still accepting resumes for review. You can email them to us. You can contact your career coach and they can schedule a time with you over Zoom to look over your resume, or just email it back with you for some critiques. And you can utilize that even for part-time on-campus jobs. This does not have to be as you're getting ready to graduate. It does not need to be just for an internship. We want you to utilize the Career Development Center throughout your time here, and it starts even now. And some more helpful tips: networking, help develop or get started developing your LinkedIn account. Highlight those part-time jobs you're going to be having this fall on and off campus. That's still very important work experience that you're going to have. We are hosting virtual career fairs this fall, and we do anticipate still having and hosting a part-time job fair on September 2nd. I believe right now it's scheduled at 11 a.m. and there's going to be information on Handshake accessible, and you will likely get an email from the Career Development Center through Handshake about the part-time job fair and employers that will still be looking for help. We anticipate both on and off-campus employers being present during the virtual career fair. There will likely be breakout session rooms with different employers in different rooms. I'm holding that up in quotations, even though you can't see me, that they can interact with students that are interested about part-time employment and be giving out their contact information to send resumes. So very important. Note that we still anticipate hosting a virtual career fair, a virtual part-time job fair on September 2nd, and we plan on that information going out through Handshake. And utilize Big Interview for interviewing tips and practice. On our Career Development Center website, we have some information about preparing for phone interviews. Who knows, maybe as you progress throughout your program, you're going to be welcomed into a lunch or dinner interview, expectations on what to wear, things of that nature. We all have accessible through our website. And we also updated our website on resources about working remotely, how to manage your work, how to create a workspace, expectations for communication, creating a balanced work life whenever you're working remote. And we are seeing some on-campus jobs, especially the office types of roles, that they're maybe developing, even integrating remote work for their students that work in their office. So all great things that are accessible through our Career Development Center website, and that's careers.appstate.edu. I wanted to thank you for taking the time to join me, or if you're watching this video later, here's our contact information. We're a 2-person team whenever you're contacting us. My supervisor, Les Miller, is the Assistant Director of Student Employment. He also is helping out with internship responsibilities and helping out with the Disney College program, and as our liaison on behalf of Appalachian State between the university and the the Walt Disney Company. And so if you're interested in the Disney College program, Disney professional internships, we can help out with that. I myself have previously participated in a Disney professional internship, and I specifically help out student employees on campus inquiring about employment, getting them set up for on-campus jobs, and I can give you more helpful insight about finding employment in the greater Boone community. Thank you again so much for joining us. Here's some of our contact information. I hope you have a wonderful day.